And we're live. In a great news, we just had the release of another Israeli-American hostage, Edan Alexander. Hats off to Donald Trump and anyone who was involved in this deal. Let's watch a video that is going to warm our hearts again. مطواف. 500 days or something more.
Yeah.
The guy was a Golani fighter. He hasn't seen his brother for almost 2 years. Imagine.
Yeah, saying how big he is now.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, this is great news. By the way, I have here Daniel Westland, a former American Apache pilot in the U.S. Army and a former IDF tank commander, born and raised in Israel, living in America. Putting aside the great news, which we're all happy about, but we cannot ignore the fact that this all happened right after Trump was in Qatar. So obviously, Qatar had a great deal with that. He probably told them, do it. And they probably told him, give us something. And he said, yeah, I'll give you something. And bam, immediately a hostage is released without asking any prisoner exchange, which that was like their main goal. They were, not negotiating, fair in games. But they gave him an airplane as a gift. Some say a gift, some say a bribe. And that's quite crazy. Here, let's before everybody get angry at me here, let's jump and watch, one of the videos from the American media. By the way, many of them are on the side of Trump, and that is the criticism that they're saying about what happened.
Apache, what do you think of this, accepting this gift?
I really don't like this. I gotta say, it makes me really uncomfortable. And it's not just that, this is not a gift. This is Qatar, a state sponsor of terror that has Hamas in the palm of its hand, giving a bribe. And I don't think President Trump would capitulate to anything that they asked him to, but that doesn't mean that it's not below the appearance of a conflict of interest. And I'll just say one more thing. Watching how quickly the Qataris were able to get Edan Alexander released, obviously, I'm so grateful to God and so grateful to President Trump for getting this man out of Hamas captivity where he was tortured. But also, it really raises the question, they can make Hamas do anything in minutes, in hours. There are 58 other hostages there. What about them? Why is Qatar suddenly a major player in terms of controlling the scene? I hate that. Hamas is celebrating. They see this as their first agreement with the United States, and it turns my stomach, you guys.
I don't disagree.
Not celebrating, let's be honest with what's happening now. But anyway, you were starting to say something?
Yeah, it's regarding Qatar. And this is something that's mentioned, and she mentioned it here, by the way. The lady speaking right there was Batya Ungar Sargon. She's editor at Newsweek. And she's been described before as a left-wing populist, but she does have a lot of opinions that some accuse her of being right-wing for. Now, all this left-wing, right-wing, as an aside here, is getting a little silly. Anybody can apply their logic and their common sense. You see an airplane worth, I think it was estimated, $400 million that's being received as a gift from a state sponsor of terrorism. It doesn't matter which side you lean. You kind of have to stop and think here for a moment. Like, how does this look? And as you mentioned, you talked about it, and she mentioned it in that clip. How is it that so immediately they can respond and free that hostage just like that? Previously, it's been months and negotiation back and forth. Yes, no, agreeing, not agreeing. But the moment that Qatar is the one that's involved, if they want something from Hamas, immediately. I mean, does that sound like a puppet master or what? To me, that's a little iffy there.
And this is not the only critic. You shared with me before another video, which I'm going to add right now. And let's hear some other critics of what is happening right now. People that are, clearly on the side of Trump.
MAGA media commentators are saying the same things. In the past 24 hours, we've heard prominent pro-Trump media stars call this plan to accept a jet from Qatar to use as Air Force One a, quote, bribe, a grift, and a stain on the administration. And this is even coming from figures like Laura Loomer, the far-right provocateur, who has a direct line to Trump. I mean, these are people who are usually steadfast supporters of the president, but in this case, they're speaking out against the deal. Let me show you two examples. One is from Ben Shapiro, who co-founded the Daily Wire. He's a prominent podcaster. The other is Eric Erickson, the radio talk show host.
That's not America first. Like, please define America first in a way that says you should take sacks of cash from the Qatari royals who are behind Al Jazeera. It just isn't America first in any conceivable way. If you want President Trump to succeed, this kind of skeezy stuff needs to stop.
My problem with taking this plane from Qatar is I do not think the President of the United States of America should sit and fly on a plane purchased with the same money used to murder American citizens.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, what is happening?
Yeah, it's so the argument could be made. Trump was when asked about it, he would say, like, look, they're giving us a free airplane, right? We have it's worth a lot of money. We're getting for free. It's silly not to take a free gift. However, is anything ever free, especially when we're talking international politics? Is it truly free? What hooks are there? And on the other hand, can you ever trust that aircraft? Do we want the president flying on an aircraft that came from a state sponsor of terrorism? I mean, just common sense. And even all that aside, simple optics. You know, how does that look? How does it look when the president of the United States accepts a gift of that magnitude? It's whether you think it's right or wrong, some things need to be refused simply on how they look, on the appearance. Does that look proper? Is that the correct thing to do? Is that an okay thing to do?
No. It's there's so many relevant, reasonable question, and it's okay to question it. Doesn't matter which side on the fence you're standing on. It's just bizarre. But what's interesting here, I think, also, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. People might think that I am after this. What was said in that meeting? What's the deal? Because America did that. You know, America released Alexander without having Israel in the loop. That was like, you know, they keep them in the dark and then they release them. Why is that? What was going on there? And I think it's connected. You know, people might think I'm crazy. Let's see. Maybe tomorrow, again, this is just an idea. Maybe tomorrow we'll hear more details about it. But today, Israel assassinated the highest commanding officer in Hamas, Muhammad Sinwar, which is the brother of Yahya Sinwar. In the video that you're going to watch right now, it's very, very interesting. First of all, how they took him out and maybe what's the reason. And let's watch the video and then we can talk about it. No, that's civil. Because you don't see fire, I'm assuming that this is bunker busters. You know, it went down to the ground and then here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the reports. So interesting facts, like you mentioned. So first, the report said it was 9 bunker buster munitions that went in. Notice the cracks in the ground and look at how small that crater is. The way those weapons operate, right? They penetrate, they go deep. It's not surface contact when you think bombs, missiles, the standard, right? It makes contact and explodes. These have a delay. They go deep and then they detonate. So you can see how little damage there is to the surrounding area. And when you watch videos, if you see the plume of smoke, as you mentioned, no fire, but you see the smoke and dust, then it goes straight up. It doesn't go wide, it goes straight up. That's because it effectively burrowed deep and kind of shoots all the debris upwards. So these are very low collateral weapons and meant to reach underground structures. So they hit apparently Hamas headquarters, command and control node, and that's where he was at the time.
Yeah, I think that's pretty similar to what they probably used against Nasrallah in Lebanon.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
When they went down. Now, here's the thing. By the way, that this was apparently... oh, I think I kicked Daniel out. Oops. Sorry, I think I kicked Daniel out. Let's wait for him to come back. Still learning this program. Oh, I kicked you out. Sorry,
I was still here, but
I hope you didn't open with a monologue, William Wallace speech there.
The speech that Abraham Lincoln gave.
Yeah. Right. And that's the story of my life. Israel have been very, very careful taking down these Hamas leaders underground because it's very hard to know if they have hostages with them or not. Now, Israel said that they did not keep America on the loop here because it was just too fast. They had to react right now, do something immediately. I think, and again, I might be crazy, that this might be related to what Trump shared with the Qataris. Because if Trump told the Qataris, listen, release an American hostages and I will let you keep Hamas alive. Or some kind of a deal that is bad for Israel strategically. And Israel knew that, you know what, tomorrow we're going to get a call that is going to be very bad for us. And then they said, you know what, guys, before that, call comes from America, which is going to twist our hand. Because we've seen that happen before when America was trying to twist Israel, mostly with the Biden administration. Don't go to Rafah, don't bomb Gaza City, and et cetera, et cetera. So maybe Israel came and said, if we don't do it now, we're going to be stuck with these guys for a long time. Let's take them down, even at the risk of hostages, even at the risk of pissing off the Americans, because what happened there, we don't know exactly what was said there. So they decided, bomb, they went and like unleashed hell on them. This happened in the parking lot of a hospital. Obviously, you see, it's like minimal, damage to the hospital because it was bunker busters. Which again comes to the question: why are they, hiding, the leadership of Hamas under hospitals? But still, I mean, something very interesting is happening between Israel and America and the Trump administration the last few days.
Yeah. No, there's Trump can operate very independently, which has positives and negatives. Trump is willing and has the testicular fortitude to, when he wants to get something done to accomplish it, he's willing to go unilateral, meaning he'll make the move, he'll do it, and he'll get it done. The downside is when you're talking about cooperation or coordination with allies, sometimes he'll move ahead and leave the allies in the lurch. Right? They're not ready. They're not positioned. They don't know. They're not in the loop. So
it's not the best thing for them.
Exactly. So I mean, that's a strategy, I guess. You get to move quickly when you do that, and if you think you see the objective and what you want to accomplish, then you can do it rapidly. However, is it effectively?
That's a good question, and he's done that with the Houthis also. Remember, Israel was clearly at war with the Houthis. They're shooting nonstop rocket at us. America is at war with the Houthis, want it or not. They're literally saying death to Israel, death to America.
To be fair, they've all been saying that for 80 years. So
yeah, they recited the song so well that even the kids they do it like with perfect choreography. They're all doing that. And then America suddenly decided we're not at war with the Houthis anymore. We got to
okay. So now we don't know. Of course,
Israel's not in the loop.
Yeah, we don't have copies of the actual agreement, but from what I was reading, some places they phrased it as, okay, the Houthis agreed to cease attacking shipping, and another one was that they agreed to stop attacking U.S. ships. So if it's, I don't know which one it is. Either one leaves Israel out of it, though. Meaning, basically, it's like, hey, leave our stuff alone. And as far as Israel is concerned, you have a green light. Not exactly a cool move. And then if it's even more specific to being only U.S. shipping is protected, I mean, come on. The U.S., whether want it or not, the U.S. in a way it's always been kind of a joke, but it's also a reality. World police, right? Team America, world police.
Yeah.
So if it's not the U.S. doing it, who is going to be doing it? I mean, yeah, the British and the French have a presence there, but they haven't exactly been doing any strikes. They were helping with intercepting. Yeah, they were helping. Well, they did intercept some Houthi munitions on the way to Israel. They did help with the Iranian ballistic missiles. So give them credit where credit is due. But ultimately,
so sorry for cutting it. You're a pilot yourself. This is like a gift, a candy for every military air force in the world. You get to have a good practice for your pilots. There's clear cut here who are the bad guys. And finally, you get to send your fighters. They get experience. They get, dipped in fire. They come back. They can later on train younger generations. That's why many countries want to get involved in warfare. That's why Israel and America have a huge advantage against other armies like China or I don't know what, because we've been constantly in warfare. And it keeps your military and your personnel trained. So with all respect, and they helped, I still think it was something that they had some kind of an incentive to do it there. But in general, being world police and being involved in like world global warfare events, Europe have become irrelevant. The UK have other issues to deal with, gangs of grooming and, radical Islam taking that country. So America is by definition the world police. And if America is not strong or clear about who are the good guys and the bad guys, we've seen what happened. The world go crazy.
Yeah, that ties into. I know we weren't planning to go in this direction, but Trump overall is very anti. He's very anti-war, right? He does not want wars because ultimately he's a businessman, and that's what he says, right? He wants peace and he wants business to thrive, right? Ultimately, yes, business is good for everyone. However, you can't turn a blind eye when war is necessary, and we can see that kind of playing out with Ukraine, where Trump is in a way leaving Ukraine out to dry, which is
Yeah.
not okay. Yeah, so okay, you're getting potentially getting peace, but peace what? Chamberlain style in with the appeasement pre World War II. So like, oh, okay, Russia, no, you can keep Crimea, you can do this, you can do that. So I'm a little concerned about Trump being a little too focused on this business. Business will make everything better
Yeah.
because there is a price that is too high for peace, right? Because you might have peace, you might not have freedom. So you have to decide at some point, where do you draw the line. I'm not sure I'm liking where he's drawing the lines right now.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the Ukraine, Russia. That's why I stay a lot out of it. Obviously, I feel like, I'm on the side of Ukraine in that story, undoubtedly. I mean,
Mhm.
they've been invaded and, invaded by really bad people and soldiers doing very terrible things on the battlefield. And my hat's off for the Ukrainians for fighting.
Yeah.
It's sometimes people don't like to hear it, but sometimes war is the answer. Now,
Yep.
war should not be the answer, but war becomes the answer when people do things that create an inevitable outcome where you will have to deal with it with war. And when that situation have come, you cannot prolong it. You cannot just say, well, let's wait, because that just gives the other side more time to get power and, and come and make it more blood, bloodshed.
Yeah.
But anyway, maybe I want to close the episode with this. We're happy that the hostage is back. We're happy for every
Yeah.
hostage back. Hats off. Um, we're not trying to make a video here of pro this, pro that, politics involved. We're literally just trying to give you guys, the viewers, an honest review of what's happening. And part of being honest is also being able to criticize the people that you might have supported more and stood by side more, or the people that you don't. It doesn't matter what. When we see something wrong is done, we're going to try to give you guys the best outcome for it. For those of you who are wondering, by the way, just to keep it up, this is Sinwar Jr. He is the brother of Yahya Sinwar, which was the perpetrator of October 7 and one of the leader of Hamas, basically, in Gaza. And he was said to be very cruel, very crazy. They called him the Shadow. Obviously, he doesn't have any shadow left. Israel did not confirm yet that they eliminated him. And they said it might take several days until they find something to actually confirm it. And I'm sure Hamas will try to hide it, but they said, they went more aggressive than usual with this attack. We saw it. Like you said, 9 bunker busters. Wow, that's insane. So they said the chances of him or anyone in that area surviving and not getting vaporized is very, very low. Um, just to be clear, this is a hospital next to it. So obviously there was some kind of a damage to the hospital. So Israel realized that this is a very serious attack that we have to do. Needless to say that in Gaza, they use hospitals to harbor terrorists and weapons, with so many raids of special forces in hospitals, and they had body cams and they showed that there were weapons in these hospitals. Hostages were taken to the hospitals, elevator from inside the hospitals down to the tunnel. So, when a terrorist organization kidnaps a whole country and they start using hospitals as military bases, something that radical Islam in general likes to do, then it's inevitable to go and fight it. But the fact that Israel decided to do that attack right now, right after the hostage release, and right after the airplane gift / bribe that Trump got from Qatar, shows a very, very concerning possible reality that we're going to be hearing about it in the next few days. I'm not telling you that this is what is happening. I'm just giving you literally free out of my mind. Me and Daniel here are just kind of talking as we reading in these news and trying to give you this analytics. But any last words you want to add, Daniel?
No, just to reiterate what you said, we're seeing the same news everybody else sees. We don't have any kind of privileged information, and these are our thoughts. And that's it can be very important to have these thoughts, because you don't know what's in the background, you don't know what's actually happening. But again, it's optics. How does it look? So this is what it looks like. This is
Yeah.
the read that I have on it.
Hmm. And funny enough, you don't hear the mainstream media saying these things anymore. That's why podcasts are becoming right now so, useful, because people stop trusting mainstream media.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Like I always say, don't do anything stupid in general. Just don't do anything that I would do. See you next time.
Thank you.